Base is dropped on another round of Soccer's morning show, Soccer Down Here. It's a Friday. There's a lot of stuff to get into. I mean, there's a lot of news and a lot of, this season being what it is. There's a lot of, talk of so-and-so going here, so-and-so going here, who's up, who's down, who's over here, who's going to England, who's changing locations, who's staying in Europe, who's moving, who's going to South America, who's coming in, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of that. So we got that to talk about this morning. And Niall wasting absolutely no time dropping notes on Bartosz Szliz. Niall's dropping stuff in this morning, so we'll get into that. Opening kickoff can go a couple of different ways. There's a couple of different things that there's a couple of different things that are on the beaten track and off the beaten track. So what I'll do, like I said, it's wide open. Whatever you guys want to talk about here on a Friday, because it's silly season and rumors are out there, and contributor Niall has already dropped in, as you guys are always great to do, and dropping in the ideas of player updates and things like that. And we do have the numbers on Santi Sosa, apparently, possibly, probably, allegedly. Morning, Alex. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Niall. And so whatever's on your mind this morning, we will go over it over the next couple of hours, and we will get through everything and get you set up for the weekend, because there's stuff to watch. It's an FA Cup weekend, and we'll get into those juice boxes and whatever else is on your mind and all that kind of stuff. Okay, opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching, however you are taking the video version of the show. Could be on our YouTube channel, could be on the Twitch, and it could be on the 280-character app. And there's your QR code for our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kicking off your day with Kickoff Coffee. See what I did there? Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15, and you get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it in youth games, youth initiatives, stuff that they have earmarked as cool. And you can get that at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. If you were a club and you had a new signing from an entirely different country, an entirely different continent, how would you address that particular signing? I'll give you a second or two to think about it. So specifically, if you were a club in Italy and you signed a player from Canada to be your newest player, your new signee, $7.7 million on the transfer from Bruges, how would you have addressed the signing of Tejan Buchanan if you were Inter Miami? Now, I'm sure that those of you who've looked at it have sat there and looked at what Inter Miami did. But if you were Inter Miami, say, and you had the opportunity to sit there and promote Tejan Buchanan as your new signing, what would you do? What would you do that would be Canadian to introduce Tejan Buchanan to your fan base? Well, apparently Inter Miami. Wow, that's probably not too far from the truth. Inter Milan decided to use pancakes. Not waffles, but pancakes. They poured syrup on a couple of pancakes. You see them walked over to Tejan Buchanan, and Tejan Buchanan decides he's going to eat the pancakes. There could have been so many other different ways to do this. So many other different ways. Swiss Chalet. Not, Molson non-alcoholic. Because, you don't want to, give the real message. You don't want to give the message that, we're giving him a Molson. You get the big tall boy, sit there and you jam it right there. You don't want to do that necessarily. So Inter Milan decided to go pancakes. Nothing with, lumberjack, anything stereotypic. My name is Ted and I am Canadian. You decide to put syrup on 3 pancakes and walk them over to Tajon Buchanan. I'm thinking that this is an opportunity lost. Well, Club Bruges, no, Alex, Club Bruges angered us here on the show for, I think it had to do with their fan support. Because yes, it is a Friday, but no, Club Bruges did something that angered us. That they ished us off. They got us angry, and so they don't warrant a drop. They have to win us back. Morning, Knicks. They have to win our respect back. They did something. Let me see if I can find what the origin was that that angered us here at SDH. I think it. Yeah. Yes. I think this is what it was. Yeah, it was fan violence and hooliganism. That was what got us. Yeah, it was fan violence and hooliganism. That was what angered us about Club Bruges, Alex. And that's why they have to win back our respect and favor to appropriately be addressed as they were for years. Bart's gassed up and ready to go because roster release day probably going to happen after the show is over. Traditionally, that's what it does. They don't wait. They don't want to do things like good for us. They want to wait until after the show is over. They don't want to do things on our timetable, which is disappointing. But no, Club Bruges pissed us off because of fan violence and hooliganism. So they don't warrant a drop anymore. Yeah, they angered us. Morning 4-card. So that's why they don't get a drop anymore. But they did get $7.7 million for Tajon Buchanan and gave him a really to Niall's point. Pancakes didn't even look that great. They didn't. It looks like they just went and grabbed some mix or something and talked to their friends at Amazon and had it delivered to the training facility. No 4-card. No. Hooliganism and violence means that they don't get their foghorn. No, hooliganism and violence means that they are dismissed. You have to do something positive to stem fan violence and hooliganism before you can re-earn your greeting here on the show. And I know that probably eliminates a lot of folks, but still. Yeah, you got to earn it back. And you got a long way to go. $7.7 million for Tajon Buchanan. And Niall's right. The Pancakes didn't even look that good. Probably just called up, Jeff Bezos or something. Hey, can you Amazon us some pancake mix? We got to cut a promo. But there's so many other things you could have done. This was a lost opportunity for our friends at Inter Milan to promote Tajon Buchanan. Instead, what you do is you put 3 lonely pancakes on a plate. You walk it over to Tajon Buchanan, and he eats them. My name is Ted, and I am Canadian. Something like that, The beaver is a noble and friendly beast. Morning, OG. Missed opportunity by our friends at Inter Milan. Inter Milan. You had a shot to sit there and really promote Tajon Buchanan. I mean, he could have been wearing a lumberjack shirt. He could have been wearing flannel and a toque. Yeah, Timothy Weah. There were a lot of folks that responded to that yesterday with the Juve match. So yeah, Timothy Weah. He hit it flush. But no, missed opportunity by Inter Milan. So we'll look at that. And if I think Bart's on standby this morning. Bart's ready if the roster is released while we are on the show. We'll keep an eye on the roster release. If it happens before 11 o'clock, I will put out the bat signal, and Bart can come dropping in for Camp Cupcake, as we discussed earlier this week. As Bart and the friends at Soccer for You SPOD like to describe it, it's another Camp Cupcake. So we'll see what the roster looks like if it is released here while we're on the air. Otherwise, Bart comes back in on Monday to discuss. So Bart has been officially warned. But that's opening kickoff. It is a missed opportunity. I know, Nix. You could have had Bob and Doug McKenzie. You could have had Elron. You could have had Geddy Lee. You could have had Geddy. There are so many things you could have done. Instead, you put 3 lonely pancakes, cover it with something resembling maple syrup, and hand it to Tajon Buchanan so he can eat them. I wonder how many times he had to eat those 3 pancakes. No, we got to do it right. No, we didn't do it. Missed opportunity by Inter Milan. Missed. Disappointing missed opportunity. You had the shot, and you blew it. Absolutely blew it. That's our opening kickoff. You could do better. Do better, Inter Milan, when it comes to your promotions. Do better. Think 3-dimensionally. Think about good promos. Think about welcoming in the Canadian fan base. Instead, 3 lonely pancakes and something resembling sauce and syrup. Yeah, that's not the way to go about it. That's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching, however you are doing so on the video version of things, whether it's on our YouTube channel, on Twitch, or on the 280-character app. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15, and thanks to everybody who has started their day with Kickoff Coffee. And don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives, stuff that they have earmarked as youth cool. You can do that at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Reminder, public service. Once again, here's the scarf. More information when we know price point, but probably in the next couple of weeks, this will be out and ready to go. It's in process right now, being produced. We're helping out our friends at the Marshall Islands. You're seeing them with their various contests right now, promoting the jersey release. And I know that there are some of you who have your jersey and your bucket hat. So what we have decided to do is help our friends out at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation with the scarf. So give it, I think it's going to be here in-house in a week and a half. Like I said, we're working on a price point with our friends at the Marshall Islands. So it's a summer scarf, so X plus shipping. And then obviously internationally might be a little different. But once again, that's the scarf that's helping out our friends from the Marshall Islands here in 2024 as they want to do things domestically later in the year. So if we can help them out and bring them here to the 4 corners of Missouri and Arkansas and Kansas and Oklahoma, so they can do things up there during college football seasons when they're planning. They're looking at October. So once again, that's the scarf that's going to help out our friends from the Marshall Islands. And we will let you know price point and all that kind of stuff when we get the okie dokie from them about it. But once again, that's it. Summer scarf, helping out our friends at the Marshall Islands. Be one of your first purchases of the year. So there you go. That's your Marshall Islands scarf to go with your jersey and your bucket hat. My jersey's back over there on the offset. So that's going to help out our friends from the Marshall Islands, and we'll let you know what's going on. Niall says, if I was Buchanan, I would have told Milan to terminate my contract after that pancake experience. See, that's the thing. Now we got to ask Tajon Buchanan, were those any good? Were those pancakes any good, man? I don't know. It was just such a missed opportunity. Walking through the training facility wearing a toque and a lumberjack shirt. You know, carrying wielding an axe, fake beard, the whole thing. Such a missed opportunity. We've been talking about Atlanta United and purchases and dudes being sent on their way and all this kind of stuff. Looks like we have a bit of an update on Santi Sosa. And it appears, according to Leandro Adonio Belli, Santi Sosa heading to Racing Club, a 1-year loan with a purchase option of $4 million for 80% of his rights, keeping 20% of the pass. So value of $5 million for Santi Sosa. Racing Club is willing to part with $4 million, it looks like, for 80% of his rights. So that's not a bad piece of business. So well done there, if that is in fact the number. And so obviously with a guy like Santi, you wish Santi the best and want him to get healthy, and you really want him to show what he did when he sent Blaise Matuidi into retirement. That's the Santi Sosa that I know that we all want to see. And if Racing Club is the destination, $4 million for 80% of the pass, holding on to 20, that's not a bad piece of business. So we'll keep an eye on all of that when it comes to Atlanta United and if anything else is going on. But once again, as mentioned this morning by contributor Niall, wasting no time at all. Bartosz Szli's update coming from contributor Niall from our friends at Napoli Magazine. Now this was a pull. I'll give you credit, man. This is an absolute credit pull. I mean, now that we have like Steen Gregerson in our saved searches, Bartosz Szli's in our saved searches now. Napoli Magazine, according to Sky, Lecce difficult to reach Szli's of Legia Warsaw. Lecce has identified Bart Szli's of Legia Warsaw as a useful midfielder to strengthen their department. Once again, this is Google Translate. However, it is not easy to get to the player, given that the financial demands of the Polish club are high at the moment, Sky Sports reports it. We had heard in our original reporting that you were looking at 2 for Szli's to come dropping in. Difficult to get a hold of Legia Warsaw. And we talked about it yesterday, is that since he's in his last year of his deal, right now there's been no talk of Szli's wanting to re-up at Legia Warsaw. Emilio, I don't know if he would be a DP. He'd probably be a high TAM. I don't know if he would be a DP. I think that you might want to save your DP-ness for further upfield. I mean, I would think that if you look at Gregerson and you look at Szli's, I think that you're looking at TAM guys. I don't think you're looking at DPs. I have not seen a number on Franco Ibarra. Ricky asks about Franco Ibarra, and so we can workshop this on the whole and see if we can come up with any kind of, as I sit here and do a search on Franco Ibarra really quickly. He's in Rosario taking his medical today, according to Diario La Capital. 1-year loan with an option to purchase. So that's where we are with that. Have not seen any number about Rosario Central from either Hernan Garcia Grova or Fernando Carafiello. No numbers, but loan with an option to buy is what we're staring at right now with Franco Ibarra. So let me see if there's any kind of a numbers update with Franco Ibarra. And let me do a deeper search here. And I know this makes for fantastic radio. Franco Ibarra, Rosario Central. Let's see if we have Rosario Central, Mundo Oficial. A wild guess that the purchase option is $2 million. So let's see as we go through Menotti, No numbers seem to be posted here, just the idea of it happening. Carafiello saying it's in a very advanced stage. We've got the picture of him with the physical about to happen. No numbers. Atake Futbolero, just all of the same guys that we look at. And once again, keep an eye on your sources this time of year. Keep an eye on your sources and check your numbers. Check your numbers when it comes to followers on the 280-character app. When somebody like Hernan Garcia Grova says something, that's solid. And we did, and Bart, yeah, we'll talk about the salary budget updates. We kind of went through yesterday late the new rules for the NWSL. And there's also been some signings. Gotham is signing everybody. Basically, Gotham is trying to turn into the Lakers or Messi and friends. Be interesting to figure out who the friends are at Gotham. Is it Lavelle and friends? Tierna and friends? All this kind of stuff. So Bart, bookmark that. So we'll get back into that in a little bit. Lo Celso, Franco Ibarra. All right. So once again, I'm checking to see if there are numbers attached. He was at the headquarters to sign his bond. Well, once again, this is Google Translate. Announcement by the club is awaited. And that was late yesterday afternoon. So late yesterday afternoon, Franco Ibarra was on campus trying to get the deal signed. So no numbers as of yet. So we'll keep an eye on numbers. But yeah, medical today for Franco Ibarra. Giannetti headed to Udinese. Oh, remember Lautaro Giannetti? Oh, Lautaro Giannetti. There you go. So your update is Ibarra having his physical. Announcement anticipated today at Rosario Central. Sosa, Rossing, looks like it's $4 million for 80%. Loan with an option to buy. Bartosz Szliz, difficult to pin down. Apparently Lecce and the number are a little different. But the numbers we saw were 2. Lecce can't put $2 million on the table. Like I said, that might be more of a Nick question/thought about not being able to put 2 on the table for Bartosz Szliz. And so we'll see what happens there. So bookmark on the outs, Sosa, Ibarra. Bookmark on the ins, your update with Bart Szliz. So we'll keep an eye on all of that stuff as we lay it all out. And so we'll see what's going on. We might get a visit from our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring and see what's going on with them. So hour number 2, we'll talk about stuff, and that's the official term. Bart wants to bring the salary stuff to the table. And so we'll see with the NWSL. Like I said, we went over the new rules for the NWSL, but we do want to talk about the new signings that happened at Gotham. I feel like every single day at Gotham, there's a new signing. And so we'll see what happens there with Gotham. Just to kind of tease what's going on in the NWSL, other than Gotham signing everybody, which they are, by the way. Gotham is signing everyone. But the question is, okay, so who are the and friends? Legitimately, who are the and friends? With Gotham signing everybody, who's and friends here? I mean, it literally is. It is an all-star team. Is it Lavelle and friends? Sonnet and friends? Dunn and friends? Who is it? Who are the and friends? Who's running lead on this? Dunn and friends, Davidson and friends, Lavelle and friends? Who is it? Midge and friends? Who are the and friends for this? And are the and friends cool with that? Inquiring minds want to know. Lynn Williams, Midge Purse, and friends. Midge Purse and friends. Lynn Williams and friends. It is the Super Friends. That is not in dispute. But Gotham is signing everyone. That is not in dispute. They are turning into Messi and friends, but we've got to figure out who Messi is in the NWSL in this situation. And did everybody else figure it all out? Is everybody else cool with them being the and friends part? Speaking of and friends, we welcome back somebody who is also in roster assembly as a mogul in training. There's camps, there's rosters, there's jerseys. It's Michael Parkhurst.
Good morning. Happy New Year, John.
Happy New Year. All right, so flash a lid. Go ahead and duck the head a little bit. Let's show that. There it is. Yep, the RIFC. This man has been busy. And to say he's been busy, I mean, it's a holiday season first and foremost. And you gotta balance all that stuff out. But as a mogul in training, you're signing coaches, you're signing players. So, all right, since last time we talked,
yes,
is your roster size like 98 now? How many folks do you have on the roster there at RIFC?
You can't afford 98 players. No, we've got, I think 16 signed. So we've got about 7 spots open. We'll probably sign about 22.
Wow. So, I mean, what has it been like for you to be in these meetings where you're bringing in coaches, you're bringing in assistant coaches to help Kano out, you're bringing in players, you're assembling, and you look like you want to start down the spine and work your way out that way. But what have you thought about the roster construction to date? I mean, what you've seen, what are you looking at with what Kano is trying to do philosophically here?
Yeah, excited about it. I think he's done a really good job, and it's difficult. There's a lot of challenges when you're putting together a roster and being a new team. Nobody knows what to expect, and sometimes you feel like you have to overpay to get guys to come, and we don't want to do that out the gates. So there's definitely some challenges. And they've navigated that really well. And we've put together a strong roster, and it's not done yet. I think that we were happy to get JJ Williams. He's a proven goal scorer in the league. Spent a little bit of time in Atlanta as well. But he's had a lot of success at USL championship level. So we're excited to have a proven goal scorer. We know how important that is. Obviously in net, we feel good. Center back wise, we feel pretty good. What's crazy is we signed 2 guys out of college, and they both ended up getting drafted in the MLS draft. So yeah, that was
did you wave your hand at Major League Soccer and go, yo, bro, we're kind of busy here. Can you not do that?
Yeah. One of the teams knew that the player had signed and drafted him anyways, and the other team did not know the player was already signed and drafted him. I don't know which one's worse, but
I was gonna say now. All right, so let's roll through this. So Major League Soccer team knows dude is signed with you, and they draft him anyway, and you're like, okay, now come on, man. And then the second one is, we didn't know that he'd signed with you. How do you not know?
Exactly. Exactly, John.
Quoting Del Schaefer down in Charleston, who is now your sworn enemy. He loved you at United. He says both are worse. That's true. Our resident Charleston Battery fan, Del.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was great for us, obviously, because it shows that we've done our homework and, signed some good players. But it honestly doesn't surprise me from MLS. Some people within the organization think that, they can do whatever they want whenever they want. And so
listen to this. I mean, you're all fired up. I didn't mean to get you all fired up.
no, I mean, I still have a lot of respect for MLS. Obviously, that's the league that I played in, and I still love Atlanta, support Columbus as well, and New England a little bit as well. And so, no, I've got no hate towards the league. It's just that there's some people within the league that need a wake up call every now and then. That's all.
Yeah. No, by the way, it's right there in the office, right there. There is the RIFC scarf. As you know me. I got to support my guys now. Right there. The jersey, by the way, the dress blue. That's pretty sweet.
Thank you. Yeah, we were excited about it. It came out really nice, and honestly, the badge looks better in person than it did when I saw it online. It's really sharp in person, so we're really excited how it came out.
You mentioned we've been talking about this, and while we do have some fun with it, I mean, this is a new aspect of your life when it comes to building a business. I always give you, the punchline about being a mogul in training here, but it's about building a business and building a brand and making sure that we always talk about there's no such thing as a second chance to make a first impression. When you think about all of these first steps that RIFC have been making, what has it been like for you to learn about all of these different aspects of business in addition to knowing what you know about the sport of soccer?
Yeah, just, how much everything costs, how expensive it is to have a team is one thing. Like things you don't really think of when you're playing, like the cost of insurance and healthcare and training facilities and meals for the team after training, before training, all these different aspects of things. And MLS has obviously got a really good setup for a lot of things, but USL is MLS from 15 years ago, where it's like, okay, hey, we got to buy the guys cleats because we don't have Capelli might make a cleat, but we don't use them for footwear. So figuring that out, and first impressions, that we talked about that as a club too, because we've got guys coming into town. I mean, a couple are there already, but majority are coming in next week, right? And it's like, okay, who's picking them up from the airport, taking them to wherever they're staying, right? First impressions are important. Taking care of them, rides to training, organizing that stuff, because right, similar to Atlanta in 2017, it's like all of a sudden it's like, boom, there's 20 plus guys that have never been in the area before, and they don't have places to stay yet, they don't have cars yet, they need help setting everything up. So just organizing all that, and that's nothing to do with kicking a soccer ball. Well,
Bart Keeler with a question for you, and it's about Capelli. He says, what went into the decision to sign a kit deal with Capelli? He's noticed a lot of youth clubs partnering with them recently, just wondering what makes them so good/lucrative.
Yeah, I think it was just that they showed the biggest earnest to want to do something with us, like really took pride in partnering with us. And, that was important, right? You obviously, for footwear and stuff and for leisure wear, maybe guys would have preferred we go with Puma or Nike or Adidas or something like that. But for those big companies, when they're dealing with USL, it's basically, here's your deal, take it or leave it. And obviously some teams take it because it's still that brand, but Capelli wasn't like that. They wanted to work with us. They want to break into soccer, and we just had really good conversations with them, and so we're really pleased with the partnership, the jersey they created for us. So hopefully it'll be really good things for both sides here in the future.
You realize, of course, that your home opener is a little more than 2 months away. It's like 70 days.
Yep, sure do.
So what's the stadium situation like with the build and your temporary home there at Bryant? What's it looking like up there now?
Yeah, it's a lot of work because the focus the last 6 months has been on the temporary facility, right? Getting Bryant, and it's a great setup, but up to USL championship standards. Capacity wise, food and beverage was somewhere where they were falling short. And so we needed to figure that out. We were able to have the field with no football lines on it, which was a huge thing for us. The optics of it is just terrible, as we know. So that was a big one for us. So thankful we got that done. The training area, the locker room. So all the focus has been on that, and everything's come along really well there. And now we're saying, hey, this stadium's coming together. They're still building it. And there's a lot of things that need to occur there. So, the stadium GM, basically, once we start playing at Bryant, needs to shift his focus back to the main stadium that we're plunging a lot of finances into. That'll be a little over 10,000 seat stadium.
Because Burn right now, I think it was 4,400 at one point, and you're trying to get it over 5. What are the specs?
Correct. I think we'll have it at like 5,200 or something like that. They were able to bring in some extra seats. So, it'll be tight and but exciting. When you have those small crowds and you've got people sort of standing in some areas, right? It brings back the Open Cup feels of like, hey, this is a cool atmosphere, right? So, we'll enjoy it for year one. It'll be fun, and hopefully we can get some good results there.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be keeping an eye on as your home for all information. Rhode Island FC, SDH. But that's you realize, of course, that RIFC has a golden ticket status and can come in and talk about stuff at any time.
All right,
anytime you guys can talk about stuff. When it comes, I'm going to shift this to mentoring now. What do you do during off seasons and holidays and gap time, I guess? How do you handle gap time as a mentor with mentees? Do you still keep constant contact? Is it occasional? Do you let things lie? How do you handle gap times and holidays with mentees?
Yeah, for a lot of them, we touched base right as the seasons were ending to kind of go over how they felt about the season and how it went, how it's going, good and bad. And then leave it. And then for a bunch of players, we're connecting with them this week and next week as things start to ramp up again, to see how they enjoyed the off-season break, a little time off, and set up some targets, goals, ambitions for the upcoming year, that type of thing. So let them have their space to get away from all things soccer.
When it comes to setting goals from timetable A to timetable B, whether it's year to year or quarter to quarter or however you break it down, do you put empirical ideas attached? Just like, 10% increase here, 15% increase here, or is it more about the idea of the person and bettering those goals? Is it on the field with percentages and, hey, since you scored 12, do you want to try to score 14? How do you handle progressions when it comes to year with your discussions with mentees?
No, it's not so much percentages and stuff, because a lot of that stuff is impossible to, other than goals and assists. And I don't even like having goals and assists as a goal, because so much of that is out of your control, right? So much you're dependent on teammates, how your team's playing, the level of your team versus the opponents, right? A striker can say he wants to score 30 goals, right? But if he's playing for the worst team in the league, it's going to be really tough for him.
True.
I talk to kids that are wingers or outside backs, and, you could put in 5 good crosses, but if the striker's having a bad day and you don't get an assist, does that mean you played bad? Right. So it's more of, hey, you can have this goal or something you want to achieve as sort of like, hey, I want to get 10 goals or whatever. Right. But what are you doing to accomplish that goal on a daily or weekly basis, right? So that when you come to the end, if you didn't accomplish that, or if you did, you can look back and say, hey, did I accomplish these steps on the way towards trying to achieve this goal? And if you did, then, hey, maybe you were just unlucky that you didn't achieve the overarching goal. So we really try and focus on those intermediate steps and the process.
So then how do you keep folks on task? Because I know that we are all our own worst critics, but if someone doesn't meet a self-imposed goal, whether it's in the overarching idea of improvement, how do you have the conversations like, well, I didn't meet my goals last year? How do you make sure that they don't focus on that and focus on the negative and get locked in that negative and use that as something that they can build on going forward, and then not get locked into what wasn't accomplished over the past year?
Right. That can be difficult sometimes, right? We always have a tendency to focus on the negative, right? But within everything, you can find the positives. Like my son woke up this morning. He was like, it stinks that my first period class is the one I hate the most. And I was like, well, buddy, it's kind of nice you get it out of the way, right? And then you can enjoy the rest of your day, right? So it's just flipping the mind frame of so many different things. And, that's what we try and do with these young athletes of, hey, this isn't a negative or you didn't fail. It's more like, hey, how can we improve upon it this time? What went wrong? And that's why we try and have those intermediate steps. Like, hey, did you hit these steps? And if so, great. And if you didn't, why? What happened? Was it within your control or outside of? Do we need to adjust for the future? That type of thing.
How difficult is that, though, to get that message across? And is there a group? Is there a group of athletes, age group wise, that handles that kind of information and build better than others? Do older athletes sit there and take that information, and are they faster to respond in the rebound than younger athletes? Or, I mean, is there something like that, or is it literally just person to person?
Some of them, and honestly, it's not completely like this, but the higher level the player within their age group, and maybe they're at a higher level because they're already understanding some of this or doing it subconsciously, they seem to get it and comprehend it a little bit faster. So I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but not all of them.
Okay, because I didn't know if, when certain age groups, they'll look at social media and they'll sit there and go, yeah, I know that it is what it is. And they'll put negative information aside faster, and they won't get wrapped up in it. I didn't know if older versus younger was something that was different when it came to shaking off bad things. I didn't know if that was something attached to it.
I mean, older players should have more experience in doing so. So generally they'll be a little bit better. But we see plenty of older players. Shoot, I even see pros that struggle with it, right? So it's not a guarantee that the older you are, the better you are with it. But in general, I'd say yes.
What did you learn about yourself as a mentor?
What did I learn about myself over this
last year?
Just I've said before, of kind of like just being adapting or adaptful to the audience and the level, and understanding everyone's experience and what they want to get out of soccer, right? We work with players that want to become pros at Atlanta United, and we work with kids that just want to have a good time and want to have fun with soccer, right? So the message changes a little bit, where it's, hey, you don't have to get on the high school team or get on the college team or do this or do that in order to have success, right? You can just play the sport and have fun and meet some really cool friends, and that is successful.
And that's something that I didn't, that it should have registered sooner, that mentoring isn't just about those athletes that want to do this professionally. It's like dudes that want to go out there and they want to have a good time. They want to meet new friends. They want to grow in a sport. It didn't trigger for me that it's not just the athlete chasing a professional or collegiate career. It's just those that enjoy the sport and want to enjoy it that much more.
Right. And, even those athletes, right, it's not that they don't have ambition, because I think that's why they're speaking with us, because they do want to play better and have success, and for whatever reason, maybe they are struggling with something or just trying to improve themselves. And we get the opportunity to speak with them. So, even they want to improve and play at their highest level. It's just that their highest level isn't some other players' highest levels.
Michael Parkhurst, mogul in training at Rhode Island FC and Beyond Goals Mentoring, hanging out with us for the Friday Free Kick. How was your holiday, by the way?
It was nice. We spent some time out in Chicago pre-Christmas with some family out there, and then drove back here Christmas Eve, and very quiet since, which was lovely for us.
Did you get the pony that you asked for Christmas?
I got everything I needed for Christmas for sure. Everything I needed and wanted, but no animals, thankfully.
What'd you get? What'd you get for Christmas?
I don't know. I'm honestly not a huge gift getter person. I'm trying to think. My kids got me some pretty good gifts, and now I'm trying to think of what it is.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Because I do remember opening up and be like, wow, that was really good. Oh, some sunglasses, which they know that I don't buy expensive sunglasses because I sit on them in the car. I forget them. They're all over the place. So sunglasses was a good one.
You go to Sunglass Hut, you get the $10 frames, or you go to the drugstore, you go to Wawa or whatever, and you get the sunglasses, and you're in pretty good shape. So, Abby wants to know how the puppy is.
Yeah, is Abby watching, or is she just listening?
I think she's probably listening, but she can always watch the video version later.
The dog. This is her spot when I got cords plugged.
There we go. Oh, how old, by the way?
With the socks that she loves to just get from anywhere in the house. Just always has socks in her mouth. She is almost 4.
Wow. Okay, so Abby is watching, so she did get to see the puppo there on the bed. What kind of dog?
Golden retriever.
Okay, so those that just want to make sure that they are right there, guarding daddy at every possible opportunity, making sure that they're right there the entire time.
Exactly. Better not leave.
No, and you better take me with you. That's when we have those kinds of guardians, that they are right there with us. We have here at Office HD, we have a 15-pound peak who believes that he is the size of your golden. And will protect mommy at every opportunity, because they attach to one individual, and so our peak Rowdy has attached to the boss, and so it's always making sure that the boss is okay. Is it the same with the golden?
She's definitely my dog first. I spend the most time with her. I was with her when she was a puppy the most and stuff. So yeah, she's first and foremost daddy's girl for sure.
No doubt.
But having that is better than having an 80-pound dog that thinks it's a lap dog.
Oh, but you know that the boxers are usually the 80-pound the 80-pound puppies. You get the boxers and those kinds of dogs that they just want to sit there and they want to launch and just be right there in your lap in the chair that you're in, and it's only got room for one of you. And the 80-pound dog doesn't know that is in fact the chair for you and not for both of you. When you're having your leisure time there in the office, I know that we talk about books. I know that you were reading books. You always constantly do. When you have the Michael Parkhurst list of books that you need to knock off to help you either as a mogul in training, as a mentor, or just in general, what's on the Michael Parkhurst book list that you would recommend for folks in those 3 aspects of life?
You know what, John? A book list is actually on my list of to-dos for the new year. I need a new book list. I need some new books to read. I currently don't have one. And I need to, find some books that I'll enjoy and also get something from. I'm definitely a nonfiction book reader.
Okay. Well, you know what? Book number 6 from John here. Noble. So what I will do, sir, is to add to your book list, I will send you a personalized autographed copy of said book. I will send it there to Mogul in Training headquarters.
Love it.
And so you can add that to your list. But when you've done book reading when it comes to mentoring specifically, I know that you go through a specific group of authors and lessons. What did you blow through in 2023 that really helped you out?
I read a book, and I'm terrible with names. I'm terrible with titles, John. So I couldn't tell you what they're called or who wrote them. But I read a book about the Barcelona Academy from the Messiah from back when, Messi was coming through and they had a lot of talented players, and the transformation that took place there. And I thought it was really, really good and really interesting because, so many youth players go through the same things no matter where they are all over the world, and how, they went through a change at the academy where they wanted all big physical players. And then they understood, wow, the smaller players who are able to keep up with the bigger players, when they do go through a growth spurt, really surpass a lot of players. And so the transformation, occurred. And obviously that's how you have, Iniesta and Xavi and Messi. None of them are over 5'8".
Never heard of any of them. Never heard of any of those guys.
And then I think I've said it on here before. The latest book I read, which was really good and really interesting, was something about expectations.
You need a book list.
Oh God, what the heck was it?
But the thing is, brother, if I don't write it down either, I'm right there with you. I mean, look, these are my talking points for the show. It's like, and when I get to them, and then I can knock them all out. But it's like, I've got to write all this down, or I will forget to talk about it.
Yeah, I hear you. And to answer Dell over there, I don't know, Charleston. That's not quite. I mean, that's not quite a driving. The nice thing for me here in Columbus is there's some USL teams that are within driving distance. I've got Detroit, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, Louisville. All four of those teams are within like a 3-hour drive.
And you can hear Bob Lilly yelling from your house.
He better be yelling when we play them. Expectation effect. Thank you, Alex. That's it. It's really good.
Expectation effect. There it is.
Yeah.
But by the way, Charleston goes to Rhode Island Saturday, April 6th. So you get to see them first.
April 6th. Okay.
April 6th, Charleston visits the Mogul in training up at Rhode Island. But I mean,
that'll be a good game. Charleston's got a really strong team, and they've gotten stronger this offseason.
This is I'm starting to look at your schedule real quick. All right, so you get your home opener against New Mexico United.
Yeah, we've got a bye in the first week.
Yeah, so March 16 is your first home match, and hopefully there won't be any snow that you have to take the blowers and
it makes it memorable.
No doubt, kind of like with the Patriots and making sure that the field goal was ready to be kicked by John Smith, Mark Henderson, the guy.
ATL's first victory ever.
Yeah. So March 16, you got a home match against New Mexico United. Then you go to Monterey Bay, and then you go to Al Lang at Tampa, and we get to see what's going on there. Then 2 home matches, Charleston and Pittsburgh, back to back in early April. You're going to really see where you stand in the Eastern Conference after Ben Pierman visits and Bob Lilly yells for an entire 90 minutes.
Totally. Yeah, it's not an easy start to the schedule. Sure.
You got to talk to the schedule makers at the league office, man.
Yeah, I mean, as is everything, there's no easy games, but yeah, we do have a lot of the top teams early on, which hey, it's good. Hey, let it show us where we are right away.
Home match April 27th against Phoenix. Then you skip 2 weeks and you got a home match against Sacramento May the 11th at Loose City the 25th. Dude.
Yeah.
What is up with this schedule?
It's all right. Hey, got to beat him to show that you're the best. So
true.
I don't think that we'll be the best year one by any means, but we'll see if we can hang.
Quoting Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. I understand that. But, man, that is rough out of the blocks. Okay. At BG Mentoring on the Twitters. At MF Parkhurst on the 280 character app as well. What else promotionally is going on, and what do folks need to know before you go?
Nothing. I think that Greg and I's big goal for this year is to produce a couple different, I don't know if you want to call them lessons or I don't know. We want to put together like a confidence lesson and a resilience lesson where it's a lot of different videos to us talking about stuff, guests talking about stuff, just really informative, and put that together kind of as a course and have it really cheap and just available for the masses. We think that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, and once I'm off the air today, I will request the address for Mogul and Training HQ so I can send you book number 6 that you can read. So as always, Cap, it's fun to catch up with you. Besides, it gives me a chance to point at my Rhode Island FC scarf here in the background. Yes, HD, you get to wear your lid. I get to show the scarf. Jersey's cool. Go to the website and buy their stuff because God knows there isn't like how many times you guys have to restock everything. It's like you guys, and that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I have no idea. Thankfully, we've got enough people on board now where I don't have any idea what's going on with merch.
As long as it's going off the shelves and you've got enough of it before you're getting ready for the world premiere of Rhode Island FC as New Mexico United comes to town in a couple of months. Cap, as always, great to catch up with you. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Glad you made it. Glad you got your sunglasses. And we'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks, my friend.
Sounds good, John. Thanks.
There we go, Michael Parkhurst. He's out the door. It's always fun to catch up with Michael because Michael puts up with a lot of my stuff. And crazy questions. Yeah, Al Lang is still standing. Well, they renovated it, Emilio, a couple of years ago. And so it's not the same Al Lang that we're used to remembering in these ideas. But no, it's still the same thing. Still the same real estate. They're also looking to build a new stadium that's more soccer specific. And I don't know if that's gone anywhere. But March 16. New Mexico United visits Rhode Island FC for the world premiere of Rhode Island FC. Okay. All right. So gossip, rumor, and innuendo and where we are and what's going on in Major League Soccer. We talked about all of the transfers yesterday. We talked about Zach Steffen. That's officially official. We talked about Nico Ladero. That's officially official. Kamal Miller from Inter Miami to Portland. And it was interesting that there was discussions yesterday. Kamal Miller could have gone to Europe, decided to stay, traded to Portland. Gee, thanks. It's going to help Portland out. I don't know who's going to defend for Miami. No clue. The Revs signed Jonathan Mensah yesterday. Caleb Porter, Cardinalfo had their first press conference. And it was the unveiling of the unveiling of Caleb Porter, who wants to bring he wants to bring a world championship or an MLS Cup to New England. He's got some work to do, but of course, you're trying to win the press conference, all that kind of stuff. San Jose signed Alfredo Morales yesterday from NYC through the 24 season with an option for 25, acquired his rights from NYC for a number 3 third-round pick in the 26 Super Draft. So they waited. It's like a couple of years down the line. San Jose pushed the third-round pick in 26 to NYC, and they're like, sure, you can have the rights to Morales. And so Ladero was official yesterday. Caleb Porter, even though he wants to bring MLS Cup, an MLS Cup to New England, and I'm sure that Shooter was probably cursing every single word. Cardinalfo has started his quest to get us all away from the baloney. Caleb Porter. I wouldn't have taken the job unless I felt we could win an MLS Cup here. That's what Caleb Porter said yesterday. I wouldn't have taken the job unless I felt we could win an MLS Cup here. So let's look at let's look, shall we? Let's look at the Eastern Conference. Just let's take a peek here. So the standings in the Eastern Conference. New England was 5 last year. New England 15-9-10. Right there with Philly. I don't think they're better than Philly. I don't think they're better than Columbus. And by the way, news out of Columbus, Crew 2 head coach Laurent Courtois, it looks like he's the new head coach in Montreal. It's a great pickup for Montreal. I just hope that Courtois is allowed to coach and not have to deal with Joey Saputo's ish, even though we know that that's not going to happen. There's going to always be a certain amount of ish that you're going to have to deal with involving Joey Saputo. Laurent Courtois, Great work in MLS Next Pro with Columbus Crew 2. Now the head coach at FC Montreal. I don't know if New England's better than Orlando. And I don't know if they're better than Cincinnati. Cincinnati right now looks like Barreal is being looked at in 5 different countries. Laurel Failer. I almost did it. Laurel Failer yesterday mentioned Barreal and his future. But I don't think that New England, unless you get into the playoff format and you do things, getting into the postseason and then it's a new ballgame. I get that. But as currently constructed in the Eastern Conference, New England, for me, is not winning MLS Cup, as currently constructed. Continues. That's the vision, but there's a long process to get there. There's your hedge. I wouldn't have taken the job unless I felt we could win an MLS Cup here. ... That's the vision, but there's a long process to get there. Tempering expectations. You try to win the press conference with the quote, but then you dial it back a little bit. That's your hedge. Over my 9 years in the league, I've developed a blueprint and a process to get there. I have experience in doing it, but I also know how hard it is to do, end quote. I wonder how long it's going to be before he starts to shush supporters groups. He's going to inject his style of play into a club that established the single-season points record back in 21. You ain't getting there. Really important to have a clear identity. You'll know what that identity is. Yeah, if nothing's changed with Caleb Porter, it's still the same thing. It'll be very clear on the pitch. When you look at the 2 other clubs I was in, 2015, 2020, those teams that were fortunate enough to win an MLS Cup, you'll see a DNA and some similarities, an aggressive, proactive way of playing. Carlos Heel. He said, my first call was to Carlos. We're going to have a great relationship. He's going to be key in our game model, really key. I think he's one of the best players in the league, so I'm looking forward to working with him. I feel like we're pretty close to having a very good 1-2 in every position in our depth chart, which is really important in this league. He said that Clint PA is also going to stay on the staff. Still 2 unnamed former assistants of his Crew days. Brandon Bai back from injury, Dylan Barrero back from injury. Barrero, April or May, according to Kurt Analfo. Bai looking at the same thing, looking at late summer. Getting Shankali, signing Shankali was the biggest no-duh in the history of New England. You needed to re-sign Shankali, wasting no time to get that done. Traded for Nick Lima, and you brought in Boateng and Mensah, who won MLS Cup under Porter with Crew in 2020. That's cool, but that was 4 years ago. I know that Porter's probably going to lean on them as much as humanly possible. So that's what you're staring at with Caleb Porter yesterday. We know that our time depends on how we do. I have a lot of respect for Bruce. He was, when I was a young coach, a role model. He was a guy that came out of college like me. I respect him, and I respect what he's done in his career. But we're turning the page. We're looking ahead. Nothing about anything other than trying to help these players reach their potential and win. That's what I'm focused on, end quote. So Caleb Porter, welcome to New England. So we got that this morning from Caleb Porter. NYCFC has announced their preseason schedule. Preseason schedules are drifting out now. Austin announces theirs as well. So when we know official, unofficial schedules, obviously we'll let you know. Especially when it comes to Atlanta and what their schedule is looking like. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on all of it. But Caleb Porter in the barn. Congratulations. Yeah. But the thing is, remember that quote, though. Remember that quote. Yeah, Niall says that not currently close to contending, too many teams ahead of them. Yeah. And that's key. Got a lot of teams in a very competitive Eastern Conference. And once again, they're going to be trading haymakers. You're going to have a lot of teams trying to beat the ish out of each other in the Eastern Conference this year. It will be no different than it was last year. It will be tight. It will be crazy. You're going to have to steal points on the road. Dell does not know if Charleston is going to host a Triple C again or not. Don't know. Four card. Yes, it's called Messi and Friends for a reason. Enter Messi. We'll have Messi friend Rojo. I don't know if four card. I don't know if Messi and Friends is going to have, if he's going to allow Marcus Rojo to defend with Kamal Miller out the door. I think Son of Stan, Rhode Island going to have a USL Academy team too. Don't know yet. I think that's in development. Yeah, the new stadium, and I think the Rowdies were looking, Bart, at their own barn, separate from when we had the discussion with Christina Uncle about the USL franchise. It literally the new stadium for them right now is a waterfront temporary thing, and then they're going to build something else. I think the Rowdies were looking to do theirs, and I think that the Christina Uncle USL Tampa Bay Soul outfit, they were going to do their own. So I think it was going to be two separate deals looking at facilities. So that's what I remember. I think the Rowdies were looking at something different, or it was a renovated Al Lang, and they were going to have to find someplace else to go play and renovate Al Lang again, make it more soccer specific, make it a little bigger. Although there's no real estate to make it bigger because you're going one direction, you hit road. So we'll see. But I thought that what Tampa Bay, the Rowdies were looking either at renovating Al Lang or going someplace else, and USL and the Tampa Bay franchise in the USL, they were going to start at a riverfront joint at a school and then build their own facility also that was going to be something, fairly decent sized. It wasn't going to be anything like 38,000 or anything like that, but it was going to be a decent sized facility for what they were trying to do. Yeah, four card. Like I said, I don't know if Messi's going to allow Rojo to defend. I really don't. Yeah. Oh, it absolutely. Oh, did he reject the move? Dell's saying that Rojo rejected a move. Hey, Dell, I'll say this: money talks. And if anybody wants to drop in and be a part of Messi and Friends, if Messi knocks on your door, seriously, if Messi knocks on your door and says, you know what, I'd really like you to come and play, how many folks are going to sit there and go no? How many are going to sit there and go, no, I don't want to play with Messi and Friends? Seriously. All good. Yeah, I'm going to turn down Lionel Messi. That is not, I don't think that's a wise move. I don't think that's a wise move. Why would you turn down an offer that you can't refuse if you're Marcus Rojo? Rejected the call, told Riquelme he was staying. Okay. Oh, boy. All right. As you wish. But, somebody else he's going to dial up the phone and he'll pick up. Somebody else will pick up. They will. Bart, two separate soccer stadiums in one city seems excessive. Yeah. But, I would look at it this way. Al Lang, renovated, rebuilt, what have you, it's got its own charm. I think the USLS for Tampa, let me see. Let me see if there's anything specific. Yeah, Tampa Bay Sun in the Super League. Let me see if there's any notification. Tampa Bay Sun FC. It was good to catch up with Christina, by the way. I don't want to get season tickets. Where's the X out? I don't want to shop Super League. I want to look at the stadium. I want to look at the stadium. I don't want season tickets. Literally, there's this thing that's blocking my access to the website. Now I finally see where it is. Okay, stadium. Tampa Bay Sun FC. Upgraded, expanded waterfront stadium along the Hillsborough River in downtown Tampa. And so they've got the mock-ups, and I think, like I said, I think it's attached to a school right along the riverfront, or right along a river. So I think it's attached to a school. So what you would be doing is making sure that the school and Tampa Bay would benefit. Like I said, it goes into the interview that we had with Christina, where it was attached to an idea of help. Okay, so let me see if I can. Like I said, we're workshopping this as we go. I don't want access now. All I want to do is read the Tampa Bay Times. That's all I want. I just want to read the Tampa Bay Times article. I'm not asking for much. So it doesn't want to give it to me. But anyway, like I said, I think it was attached to a school, and it was going to help the school and the school system and be there as a year-round facility for the school system and for the Sun and for the USL. So it was not something for the Super League franchise. So that's what you were looking at with Tampa. Tampa is building something that's going to help the school system and the school that it's attached to on the riverfront. Al Lang is specifically Rowdies and anybody else. So it was like helping out two different ideas. So that's what you're staring at when it comes to the stadium situation in Tampa. No, I know, Del. I know you can't stand the Rowdies in Charleston. I know you can't. That's the beauty of the USL Championship. Looking forward to seeing what else was going on. But yeah, enter Miami, Messi and friends. Who's going to defend? Like I said, I think it's going to be like a 2-7-1 or something like that. Yeah, a 2-7-1. Everybody in the attack. Screw it. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and there's a lot. There's a lot with everybody and everything, and who's going where and who's doing what. So the latest on dudes. We'll start with Major League Soccer. We'll start here and we'll work our way out. Tommy Scoops, Tom Bogert, Coco Carrasquilla in Houston. Interest, no offers. Julian Carranza, 1 year left on his deal. Bunch of interest for a January transfer. And you know that Philadelphia will try to get something done because he could leave on a free next winter. While you're controlling the asset, make sure you can get something in return. And then Tom mentions Thiago Almada. He mentions Thiago Almada. 30. And that's what we're kind of staring at. You're looking at 30, but once again, somewhere in the 30 million plan, 30, 35, once again, 30 or 35-ish, say. But you could take a little less and still have a percentage of the pass as Thiago Almada continues to grow. And you're still getting money from Thiago Almada. Have not, Dell. So keep an eye on Thiago Almada and that number. But once again, if the number's a little low and you still get to hang on to a percentage of the pass for someone with a future that is as big as Thiago Almada, then if it's a little lower, it's a little lower. But as long as you get that percentage of the pass working forward. So keep an eye on that. Dell wants to talk about Juan Guerra possibly going to Houston as an assistant. Be a big loss for Phoenix if that does happen in USL. There's an empty assistant space currently on the Houston roster. And Juan Guerra is being talked about as possibly moving in to fill that space. Morning, Bam. Morning, evening. Welcome back. Happy New Year. And Ricky, Champa Bay is so cringe. So cringe. Stop trying to make fetch happen. So you're looking at that possibly as well. So keep an eye on that when it comes to moving forward. Bernadeschi was a number that was big to begin with. John Herdman apparently is shopping at Aberdeen to try to bring in players. Saw that yesterday, and under the current system, under Barry Robson, are you sure? No, Bam, have not heard the latest in the A-League. Let us know. We'll talk about it. It's a Friday. Anything's on the table, whatever you guys want to talk about. We're still waiting for the roster release for, as Bart refers to it, Camp Cupcake. We'll see if that happens by the end of the show. And if that roster gets released while we're on the air, bat signal will go out to Bart. We'll talk about it, and if we go over, we go over. Bernardeschi needs to leave. Insigne needs to leave. Well, but I mean, Bart, we're on till 11:05. So if they drop the roster right at 11 o'clock, the fourth official could hold up the light board, and we'll just keep playing. So once again, keep an eye out for it. If you see it at 11 o'clock, it comes online, then I will, as you say, link you, and you can come in and crash, and we'll talk about it. Give us something to talk about leading into the weekend. Bernardeschi and Insigne both need to go. They are anchors to the salary cap. They're anchors to the numbers, and they could bring in some talent. They need to be released. They need to go back to Italy or wherever they want to go play. Reports in Italy apparently say that Bernardeschi's doing everything he can to return to Juve on loan this winter. John Herdman is searching for defenders at Aberdeen. Under the current setup, dudes are just going to sit there and stand in front of net. There won't be a whole lot of activity going forward if that's the direction you want to go. He also brought in Jason DeVos from Canada Soccer. Folks leaving Canada Soccer right and left. Gee, I wonder why. So we'll keep an eye on that. But Bernardeschi's got to go. Denny Buanga, obviously. LAFC. Buanga wants a new deal. Not a shock there. Nothing's happened. So Denny Buanga, we'll go ahead and look at the numbers. Last season. Let's see what Denny Buanga made salary-wise. Go to our friends at MLSplayers.org. So Denny Buanga, obviously, Denny Buanga made a little over $2 million last year in base. Guaranteed compensation, almost $2.5 million. Denny Buanga wants a new deal. Can't say I'm surprised. John Thorrington dismissed the notion of Buanga leaving. LAFC is looking for at least $15 million. France and Saudi Arabia are interested. 38 goals in all comps in 23. LAFC, if they handle this correctly, will get a decent amount of money in return for Denny Buanga when they want to send Denny Buanga on his way. Noel Buck, New England. Serious interest. Our friends at Bruges. $7 million, 10% sell on for Buchanan. Inter Milan celebrates with pancakes. Bruges is looking at Buck. Duncan McGuire. Blackburn. See, this is the thing. All right, so Bogert mentions Blackburn. Blackburn knocks on Orlando's door. Hello, this is Blackburn Rovers. We'd like to have Duncan McGuire on loan. Really? We'd like to have Duncan McGuire on loan, please. The phone could not have been hung up fast enough if it was me. They're expected to return with a third bid, a loan bid. Nantes, allegedly interested. Utrecht, inactive. The group that owns Lyon and Molenbeek in Belgium is interested. Would likely sign him to Molenbeek. And they're also in discussions for a new contract, as they should. Likely to be on the U.S. squad at the Olympics, 15-3 last year. Cade Cowell, this is interesting. I don't know if you saw this last night. Cade Cowell, and this ties into other players as well. Cade Cowell is getting the tires kicked by Chivas. Fabian Wrinkle and others. Rodrigo Camacho, Tommy Scoops. Camacho works for Fox Sports in Mexico. 13,000 followers on the 280-character app. Chivas have submitted a formal offer to the Earthquakes to purchase Cade Cowell. So that would be interesting. And as we always say, what is our acronym? A, always be BC Cruton. Always be Cruton. Always be Cruton. Because with Cade Cowell, you could get, if I'm not mistaken, you could get at the very least the one-time switch with Cade Cowell. But if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Cade Cowell is cup-tied. He's only played with him in friendlies. So he's not cup-tied. And as someone who has dual citizenship, this could be a move by El Tri to keep an eye on him in Liga MX. So Cade Cowell, keep an eye on this one. This one could be very, very interesting. Cade Cowell and Chivas. Bogert also adds that a European club is chasing after Cade Cowell as well. And you know that that our friends at San Jose, after negotiations with Bologna fell through, rejected a bid from Reims 2 years ago. Bologna didn't work out. So it looks like it's Chivas and a Europa League club, according to Bogert. But along those lines, to Chivas, with Cade Cowell, Chicharito looks like he is heading to Chivas. So it looks like, according to Sergio Dip on Twitter, who works at ESPN Deportes, 221,000 followers on 280-character app. It looks like Chicharito has given the green light to join Chivas. He's like, yeah, okay, that's cool. So you could have, in theory, both Chicharito and Cade Cowell, if the numbers are right. Well, Chicharito obviously would be first in line. But Chicharito and Cade Cowell to Chivas. I know the picture that you're talking about. Del says he saw a picture of Cade getting a Mexican passport. Is that new? I don't know how new it is. But looking at Cade Cowell and Chicharito. Getting a passport. Proud of being a dual citizen. And I know that that's the photo that you're staring at, the one from Alejandro Bologna, the ambassador to Mexico. Getting the picture with Cade Cowell. So keep an eye on Cade Cowell and Chivas. That one is interesting. El Tree keeping an eye on possible nationals. Always be recruiting. It's always recruiting season. Always be recruiting. Always be recruiting. Świderski's next. Świderski has been interested in going back to Europe. Signed for $5 million ahead of the 22 campaign. Led the team in goals. Bundesliga interested. Enzo Capetti's still there. Dean Smith's probably looking at his own guys. Świderski has made it clear that he wants to go back to Europe. So I'm sure if there's something close that Z-Man, Zoran Krneta, will take the jump. And he'll want to move Świderski if Dean Smith and the front office are like, yeah, if his heart isn't in it, you want to ship him. Go. Barreal. Once again, we mentioned it yesterday with Laurel Failer. Subject of interest from Ajax and others. But Barreal apparently has a handful of clubs that are interested. Evander. Flamengo submitted an offer, 7.5. Portland was like, nope. Work a little higher. Spent $10 million to get him from Midtjylland. Through contract is through 26. Option for 27. There's no interest in selling, according to Bogert. But everybody's got a price. Just ask Ted DiBiase, $1 million man. Everybody's got a price. Jefferson Savarino. Botafogo and RSL nearing a deal close to $3 million. And for that, RSL would keep a percentage. And so that opens up a DP spot to pair him with Chicho Arango. Luquinhas, possibly headed back to Brazil as well. Red Bulls in Fortaleza, according to Cesar Luis Merlo. Mo Farsi, and this is an interesting one. United Arab Emirates club Al Wasl is pushing to sign wingback Mo Farsi. No formal bid yet. Farsi currently in Dubai. First in the UAE Pro League after 12 matches. And we saw what Mo Farsi was able to do for Columbus Crew and Wilfred Nancy. Columbus Crew, Wilfred Nancy, we saw what Mo Farsi was able to do in that offense as a part of that attack. So it makes sense to see how things have drifted toward interest from Mo Farsi because of what he was able to do in a postseason run. Not a shock. Not a shock at all that something like this would go down. And get into the international stuff coming up in just a little bit. And get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo. And I know that Bart wanted to discuss what was going on with the new salary numbers and all of that with the NWSL. So we'll get into that as well. Whatever else is on your mind. Modaflow reminds us that once again, Chivas only signs Mexican players as long as they have a Mexican passport or heritage, they can play for Chivas. And that's why they're chasing after Cade Cowell, as they probably should. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo this morning. And I always have to remember to refresh it because that one morning that I didn't, and I'm reading like stuff that's a year and a half old, that didn't go over well. Fulham among the Premier League clubs who've been offered a chance to sign Bobby Firmino, who wants to leave Al Ahly. Brentford have put a £100 million price tag on Ivan Toney. A £100 million price tag on Ivan Toney. Sure, why not? Yes, Thomas Frank, I know you need all the offensive help you can get. $100 million. Sure, why not? I don't quite think that you're going to get it. And I think that part of that is to set up such an egregious number that you're going to chase folks away. We know that Chelsea won't get chased away. We absolutely know that Chelsea will not get chased away. No chance. Yeah, bam, hey, all you can do is ask. So, $100 million. That's what Thomas Frank said. It's going to cost you $100 million. That sure as hell would help out Brentford because they need all the help they can get right now. But it is proven that they need an ish ton of help. And so Thomas Frank's going to sit there, Jarrett, and put a £100 million price tag on Ivan Toney.
We talked about this before. England comes with a surplus. England comes at an expensive cost.
Mm-hmm.
If you are buying in England, everyone should know, you can ask for more money.
Uh-huh.
And if Chelsea's involved, sorry, Michael, if Chelsea's involved, we're throwing some extra numbers on there.
Oh, absolutely.
Just for funsies.
Oh, absolutely. Other gossip in Europe before we get into the NWSL stuff. Bart wanted to bring that to the table, and the Camp Cupcake roster is allegedly being announced in 20 minutes. Teams are also announcing their preseason schedules. If Atlanta United announces theirs, then we'll get into it. Austin has announced their preseason run this morning. A couple of others have as well, but we'll get into that coming up. And Tormenta and Puma have apparently reached an agreement, according to Modiflow. We'll keep an eye on that. Arsenal preparing a move to sign 17-year-old defender Joel Hato from Ajax. Ajax needs the money because they're certainly not doing it on the field. Move taking Jadon Sancho back to Borussia Dortmund from Manchester United will include an option to buy for £25 million. Atalanta have set an asking price for just under $52 million. These are all in pounds unless otherwise notified. For their defender Giorgio Scalvini, linked with Manchester United. Chelsea and Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher wants to stay at Stamford Bridge despite being linked with a move to away. Chelsea put the price tag at $45 to $50. Manchester United not expected to activate the option to extend France strikers Anthony Martial's contract, 28-year-old set to leave on a free in the summer. Crystal Palace working on a deal. We talked about it yesterday. Peterborough United's under-20 defender Ronnie Edwards price tags at $10 million right now. Bournemouth set to bid for Ecuadorian midfielder Oscar Zambrano from Quito. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Bayer Leverkusen's Jeremy Frimpong continues to be linked with a move. The German club have no intention to sell in January. Middlesbrough close to signing Republic of Ireland U21 international Finn Azaz for $2 million from Aston Villa after his loan spell at Plymouth Argyle went as a success. Villa set to open contract talks with winger Leon Bailey, who could become one of the highest players at the club, paid players at the club. 4-letter paper, take the information at your own peril. PSG have emerged as frontrunners to sign Mary Earps, and Bayern Munich have inquired about AC Milan defender Fikayo Tomori. That is your first round of gossip. Now, Jarrett, Bart wanted to get into the salary numbers, the new news that's been released by the NWSL. And it's interesting things that the NWSL is doing. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. NWSL has announced major updates to the roster rules, including the increase of the salary cap, which is basically doubling it from 1.375 to 2.75. So you're doubling the salary cap. That means that each of the league's 14 clubs will have $775,000 more to work with than they did last year. including the fact the clubs had the option to purchase up to $600,000 in AM from the NWSL. The salary cap increase will be seen as a suitable replacement for allocation money, which the NWSL will begin to phase out starting this year. So the NWSL, Jarrett, is turning into a trendsetter by phasing out AM, and you have until the end. You have New Year's Eve 2026, so you've got 2 years to get it done. Phasing out all AM by 2 years. They introduced it back in 2020, but they've jacked up the salary cap, basically doubling it. Gotham is signing everybody, by the way. It is turning into somebody in Friends, like Lynn Williams in Friends, according to Bart. But the NWSL is turning into a trendsetter by jacking up a salary cap and blowing out AM.
Good.
Who knew?
Good. Do it. Keep doing that crap.
Who knew that you could be a trendsetter like this?
I mean, it needs to happen.
Yes.
You need to expand things out. It is funny to me that we're in this situation now where, like, Gotham has just decided, what if we just became
what the hell?
A monster movie?
Mm-hmm.
What if we just lived our lives like that?
Mm-hmm. They're signing everybody and their friends. I mean, this is like, it is. I mean, let's see. It's Dunn, Davidson, Lavelle, Sonnet, and you've already got Allie Krieger there, and you've already got Midge Purse there, and you've already got Lynn Williams there. I mean, damn, man. What the hell? Just sign everybody.
Well, and that's the thing is, though, like, it'd be great not to be surprised by this crap.
Yes.
It would be just phenomenal not to be like, oh, look at them. They're doing the thing. Like, no, that should be standard operating procedure to just take things forward and not stick in, what you're in right now. It should be. It's not, because whatever, man. It's just annoying.
Yeah.
That, like, oh, they're doing all the things. Yes. Great job. Keep doing all of the things. Keep improving. Keep expanding out.
Yep.
This shouldn't be like, it should not be a thing where we're, oh, look at that. They're doing the thing. We're surprised. No, it should be expected of, oh, they're expanding out. Good. That's like saying you went to the steakhouse and you got dinner. Like, you're doing the thing that you came there to do. You should be expanding this out always.
Yeah. And I mean, the Bay FC's coming in. Their coach had said that he anticipated that the salary cap would be around 2.7. Modiflo is like, sign Bonmati and Jenny Hermoso, you cowards.
Yeah. Especially, you want to compete. Like, we're in a situation now where, guess what? In WSL, you're not the top dog on the planet anymore. U.S. soccer, women's soccer, you're not the top dog on the planet. How do you plan to counteract that? How do you plan to get better? How do you plan to take the next step? How do you want to do that? Expand things out, get better players, get better development, become more dangerous. Just do it, please.
Yeah,
keep doing it.
You know that Michelle Kang and her ownership group in DC, they're going to be like, oh, okay. Michelle Kang's going to want to throw dollars at it, but what I don't want is folks to spend beyond their means. Considering the league is where it is right now, yes,
but you have to trust people to be responsible. We have this shit literally happening in Europe.
There it goes. We got
constantly on the men's side. How many clubs are spending beyond their means on a consistent basis? We literally have rules in this. Now, of course, those rules don't apply to everybody. They don't apply if you have enough money to throw around to get yourself outside the rules of financial fair play, or if you can bend the complexities of them. But, like, we have this conversation all the time with men's teams of, oh, well, you gotta operate within your means. You got to do this. You got to do that. Why should we why are we going to sit here and try and wag the finger and hold them down to, hey, you need to play within your means. Everyone's got to at least try to play within their means. Otherwise, they're going to collapse and don't need to be rescued from it. If you're going to be that stupid with everything, then take your fate and run with it, man.
Yeah.
A lot of teams are operating outside of their means, and it's stupid and it's not sustainable. And then you end up situations where they have to like run it back the other way in extreme ways. They're not any better or worse, for operating at up against their means. Now, you want to spend a lot. I get it. And you need to make sure you have the amount of money coming in to counter that.
Yeah.
But you certainly cannot be afraid to spend the money.
No, we bring in Nick, and Modiflow has now termed this the Trinity of Chaos. One other element that Bart wanted to discuss. The net transfer fee threshold is a new policy teams competing in the global market. The net transfer fee threshold of $500,000, which applies to both intra-league transfers and deals done with international counterparts. Transfer fees for incoming players offset by those for outgoings. And teams whose net fees paid are in excess of the threshold will receive a 25% charge toward the salary cap. They can limiting teams to 4 players under the age of 18, and that is now a part of the mechanism as well. Party transaction policy limiting player movement between an NWSL club and an overseas club that share the same ownership group. Letter policy would only apply to Spirit and OL Reign, though the Reign would likely see no longer this is a problem with their ownership change because Sounders are in talks to buy Reign from OL Group. So, but you're getting some counterbalances here. Hi, Nick.
Howdy.
You joined in at a decent time, didn't you, brother?
Man, it sounds like it. Good Lord.
Oh yeah, Jared's all fired up.
Well, we're gonna hold them to the fire. Oh, you need to be sustainable. You need to make sure you don't go too high. And yeah, for his points, I mean, you have those in place to help. But we never have this conversation with some of the men's clubs that are just spending out their damn nose in unsustainable ways. And yeah, we should have those. If you're going to have conversations about them one way, have them the other way too.
Well,
I just don't have the damn energy today for this.
Well, and Reading, by the way, and I know that seems to be a point that we circle back to a lot involving Jess. The caterers now are no longer a part of activity at the stadium because it was a cutback. So that's how bad things are right now with Reading, is that we're having to discuss the catering service not getting paid and now not being a part of things when it comes to Reading and their ownership group. When Jess comes back to this part of the world, we've got to have her back on to talk about things about Reading. But yeah, Nick, what's on your mind?
Well, I think to Jarrett's point, what we're seeing, and this is something that we have talked about on this show for a while, and it either doesn't get traction or maybe people don't care or they just kind of dismiss it. But this is something we have been talking about for a very, very long time. And I'm not saying that other shows just ignore it, but what you always hear is, what's the new transfer threshold? How much money are they going to spend on this guy or that guy? And it's like a 14-year-old playing Ultimate Team, and we are what seems to be missed, and maybe it's just because we're a collection of olds, is that there's a budget to this. I don't care who you are. If you look back at leagues that have failed, right? We'll just go back to leagues that have failed. NASL, the original one. You had 2 teams, right? You had the Cosmos and the Aztecs that were really in the spending world. Everyone else was just kind of trying to live. And the league became top heavy and unsustainable. You had, going back to WPS, you had, FC Gold Pride out on the West Coast, which stockpiled talent. And then you had a couple of other teams that did their best to do that. And then the league fell apart because you were spending so much on salaries, so much on transfers that the economics stopped working. At the end of the day, you're pulling money from one place or another. Either you're pulling it from, your your own accounts, the team's accounts, which are fed by, sponsorships, ticket sales, shirt sales, however you want to slice it. And then the other side is ownership. So in Serie A, you had Moratti, you had Agnelli, and you had Berlusconi dumping money into the teams, right? And that's why Moratti said, as soon as they did financial fair play, all the billionaires started pulling back because they knew that it was unsustainable. And now with the nation state money, all that money is coming from them. It's not coming from sponsorship. Like, you're not getting, Cristiano Ronaldo's salary paid by ticket sales in Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry, you can't convince me that's the case. The economic model is now billionaires who, essentially are not that big of a deal anymore, going up against nation states, and they're doing their best to keep up. They're failing because that's a ball game you cannot play. We are going to have to, as fans, decide what we want our game to be. And that means you're probably going to have to start looking at lower tier leagues to invest your fandom with. You can't, you can support Man United and Juve and all these other, Bayern Munich. And if you want, go for it. But that's not where the excitement is going to be. It's not where the spectacle won't be, obviously, with like USL League 2. But it's going to be probably a more sustainable product. It's going to be something that's going to last for a longer period of time. It's going to be something that is going to certainly, I think, be a, for lack of a better term, a more pure game than what you're going to get anywhere else. So it's the game's getting too big. It's getting too bloated. Men's and women's side, it's the same thing across the board. It's getting so stupid when a team like Barcelona, who at one point refused to put sponsors on the front of their kits, they said, we're not going to do it. And then the first sponsor they put on there was UNICEF, because they said, if we're going to have a sponsor on the front of our shirt, it's going to be something that contributes to the good of mankind. And they put UNICEF on the front of their shirts. That was one of their first sponsors that they had. Everyone else, they refused, right? And now look at them. They got into the money game. They kept trying to chase Real Madrid, and they kept trying to chase the bigger teams with the bigger budgets, bigger, stronger, faster. And now they're doing what? They're playing friendlies. They're playing friendlies in the U.S. in
for the case
on very short rest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for what? Because they're broke. Mm-hmm. They have no money. And I'm saying, well, Barca's catching strays because they got caught chasing the money game. Barcelona and Ajax had two of the most sustainable systems in world football. Two of the most sustainable systems in football. The greatest football schools out there. And one rotted from entropy, right? They just couldn't sustain it. Ajax couldn't sustain it. The level of talent being produced through it, they just couldn't keep it up. It just started to crumble and rot from the inside. And Barcelona started stockpiling stars on their bench and not allowing the youth to develop properly like they used to, because they were chasing the money game. Bigger, more impressive signings, keeping up with Real Madrid, and now they're flipping broke. And it's all over now. The curtains have been pulled back. The wizard has been exposed, and now it's all madness. Because you keep chasing the stupid money games, because we fans are the problem, because the only things we engage with are how many hundreds of millions of dollars player X is going for. It's the only thing that matters. So-and-so is not living up to their 100 million euro valuation. Of course they're not. It's an 18-year-old kid from Buenos Aires or from Rio de Janeiro. It's a kid. It's the same kind of kid who gets rotten guts before a huge event, or because he eats a bad burrito or something like that. We're all the same kind of people. Some have more absurd talent, but who the hell is worth 180 million euros? Really? It's stupid. And we keep feeding this machine. And And now we're sitting here wondering when teams go bankrupt or on the verge of bankruptcy or crying poverty or cooking the books or embezzling cash. Well, what led them to this? Trying to feed the machine, baby. Bread and circuses. That's the one thing that the Romans got right that we've been chasing ever since, is we as mankind need the circus. We need the Colosseum because everything else has gone to absolute crap. And we need the distraction. So that's where we are now, man. And I feel people can always come at me, but it's people can come at me and say whatever they want. But at the end of the day, we are the reason the Coliseum stays open. We are the reason that, for bread and circuses, because we demand it. We want it. We want the bigger and stronger. And when our teams fail, we sit there go, well, whose fault is this? Ours. Doctor, heal thyself. Go look in the mirror and see who the problem child is in this relationship, because somebody's trying to keep us locked in and engaged, and they know exactly what it takes to do it. It's keep dumping the money.
What to watch before we put a wrap on today. We get the Santi Sosa update, the Bartosz Szliz update. Anything else on your minds before we go? BN Espanol have Turkish Super League at noon. And you can catch up, if you don't have BN, catch up through our friends at fanatisfntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the show, helps out them, helps out the network, and it helps you out because you get Teise, you get all the BNs, you get the Brasileiro, you get CDO, Teise, For the Fans, Goal TV, all that stuff in one place. Liga 1 Max, all that. You can pick it up at fanatisfntz.co/soccer down here. Coupe de France round of 64 is on Fox Deportes, doubleheader noon and 2:45. Goal TV has a doubleheader in Portugal, 1:45 and 3:45. Boa Vista is playing Porto at 3:45. No word on if they're paying anybody. English FA Cup third round, triple header available on the Plus. Brentford Wolves, Fulham Rotherham, Tottenham and Burnley at 3. Fox Soccer Plus has your round of 64. Paramount Plus, Bologna, Genoa at 2:45. And on the Scottish Championship, Queen's Park and Dunfermline Athletic at 2:45. That's your viewing today for everything in the Soccers. This morning, guys, we were getting info updates on Bartosz Szliz, and it looks like Lecce, once again, this is dialing back to contributor Niall, and yes, bam, with the public service announcement. Don't forget to join the Discord. New season of Picks of the Week has started. Turn the calendar. It's Picks of the Week, so join the Discord. I'll leave that info up. Contributor Niall let us know that according to Lecce Magazine, Lecce is having problems, or Napoli Magazine, Lecce is having trouble with the Bartosz Szliz negotiations because of money. So right now, the $2 million, this was a $2 million figure, Jarrett, that we were staring at with Bartosz Szliz. At least that was what the initial numbers were. So looks like Atlanta, if they're still in the Bartosz Szliz sweepstakes, might be ahead of Lecce because of the financials on the 8 figures.
Yeah, Lecce doesn't have that kind of money.
Money talks, man. Money talks. I got nothing else for you, but yeah, that's the way it rolls, baby. Well, I got nothing else for you. That's just how it works. Like when it comes down to it, this is one of the reasons we talked about going and hunting in second division France, because you're going to find places like that where they ain't got the cash and they need the cash. They might be slipping, and you might be in a situation like, hey, I can give you a little boost to get you through the holidays, and you can just sell me one of them fine players you got over there.
Then the other notification that we got is it looks like Santi Sosa, $4 million from Racing Club, loan with an option to buy, and Atlanta United is keeping a percentage of the pass. This looks like a decent piece of business.
Yeah. I mean, you got two guys in that midfield who are on U22 deals who don't seem like they are going to fit in the long-term scale. Santi Sosa, especially, not able to stay healthy. Let him go somewhere where he is comfortable and rebuild his value and rebuild his confidence and rebuild his skill because he can play. Mm-hmm. Get them somewhere comfortable. You got them on a loan deal. They're off your books right now. They might be purchased. Hey man, it's part of when you got a glut of bodies in there. That's what you do.
And Franco Ibarra looks like his medical is today with Rosario Central. Don't know any kind of financial figures there, but it looks like once again with Franco, it's a year with another option purchase there as well. So, don't sing and dance in it. That Emilio's been quoting a lot of Genesis this week, and I mean the Phil Collins Genesis. That's that has been what's been quoted with Tom and Emilio this week. So we're early in the window. We've had a little chaos. And Nick, I wanted to ask you, it looks like, and it should have been this way a long time ago, that both Insigne and Bernadeschi are looking to make their way back to Serie A this year.
Yep. Yeah. No one told you that was going to be a, the move to Toronto was going to be easy. Nobody at all told you that this was going to be one of those things where, there's a reason why a lot of Italians don't leave the motherland. You're leaving good food. You're leaving great climate. For what? I'm sure Toronto's a fine city. I'm sure it's a great city. But culturally, North America and Italy are oil and water. So, it's just, and Insigne to me is different because Insigne, their family had personal tragedy over here that kind of got swept under the rug. And I think justifiably so. But they had, I think Insigne after the loss of, a pregnancy, they were like, there's just too many bad memories here. We need to get out. It's not working, not happy. And, just go. So, Insigne, that move doesn't shock me. Bernadeschi's one that I thought out of all of the guys who came over on that Italian contingent, I thought was going to be the most likely to stick and stay. Yeah. But he doesn't want to be the one guy on a rebuilding squad, and he ain't playing for Herdman. I got news on that one. No, it ain't happening. So I think this is something where it's a cautionary tale for MLS that if you go shopping in Italy for Italians, that you need to find someone who is on the outs. What they have with Giovinco, I think, was a perfect situation. You had an Italian who was, for whatever reason, not being called up to the first team, was out of the national team picture, and wanted a change of scenery, wanted to go abroad. And I think that's where Major League Soccer teams could find some success if they go back to that well. But I would really fish Serie B before I fish Serie A. Guys who are really looking for a roundabout way to make their first team squad somewhere and not in the second division. Right. So I think if Major League Soccer is going back to that well, go to Serie B, and you'll find tremendous value there. But I would stay away from Serie A guys. I'm just as much as I want to see it, I don't think it works here.
Tormenta and Puma. I'm sitting here. They've got the releases out with all the video and everything. So Tormenta and Puma, and Noe Meza heading to USL Championship as well. So preseason schedules are kind of drifting out this morning. So if Atlanta United posts theirs, we'll let you know. Philadelphia's preseason schedule: Austin, January 23rd, NYC on the 27th, Cincinnati, February 9, February 14, the Revs. Jarrett, we talked also before you got to drift in this morning about Cade Cowell and Chicharito both heading to Chivas, possibly, probably, allegedly, maybe fairly closely.
Well, and to Nick's point from yesterday, it's recruiting season because you don't go there unless you're part of the national team potential picture. You ain't there unless you got, the capacity to play for Mexico's national team. Cade Cowell, by I think it's his mother or his grandmother, can. He ain't tied to the U.S. He's played in friendlies with the U.S., but he has not locked in with the U.S. national team. So, yeah. Fun times, Cade Cowell.
The picture exists with the ambassador where he's got the passport. So, I mean, this is, never say that folks ain't recruiting, especially in a situation like that. And
they stay recruiting.
Oh,
that's always a fact.
Well, that's the thing, is that you've got to sit there and make sure that everything is in line to continue to improve, because Chivas had a bit of a rough go in the who's what's-its, in the aperture.
In the who's what's-its.
Yeah, that's the
technical term.
The early part of their season, the who's what's-its in Liga MX. So we also talked Cade. Oh wow, Bart with a hot take. Yeah, Bart. We're trying to filibuster as best we can, Bart. Bart's like, apparently the roster's again going to drop after the show ends. Bart with a hot take. Cade Cowell can go to Mexico. Bart will not be upset or miss him.
That's okay. Cade Cowell is an interesting one in that I think Cade Cowell is plenty talented, but you've kind of been waiting for him to put it together. And when we talk about guys putting it all together, one of the things we talk about is consistency.
Put it together.
And that hasn't always been the case for Cade Cowell. Like, it's been in spurts with San Jose, but it hasn't been super consistent yet for more than like a short stretch at a time. And with a guy like that, San Jose is building something that looks more stable and looks more adult and professional in the last few years. Maybe you're seeing the idea of, hey, we can, we don't know if he's going to fit what we don't know if he's going to fit, if we might have someone who can do the same job. And if so, get something for him.
Absolutely. Nick, Brandon Vasquez looks like he might be heading to Liga MX as well. 7.5 plus $1 million plus a percentage going with him as he goes to Liga MX. Barrial getting interest from FC Cincinnati. Miles heading to Cincinnati. So it's an interesting time for Liga MX and folks that are close to this here footprint, sir.
Hey, look, good for Brandon, right? So I know that there's some corners of the fan base who say that we should have never got rid of Brandon Vasquez. At the time, Joseph was one of the healthiest strikers in the league. He was putting on a show day in and day out. You weren't going to get meaningful minutes outside of an Open Cup run. He needed to develop. He needed to be getting first team minutes. He got first team minutes, and that worked his way into a transfer. So good for him. Nothing but love for him. I hope he gets everything, he wants and deserves. So Liga MX needs an influx of talent, of new talent, right? Yeah. They need new young faces. He said it was $7 million was the fee.
7.5 plus possibly another $1 million in add-ons, and FC Cincinnati keeps a percentage.
Oh yes, that's great. Good for them. So nothing wrong with that, man. Get your money, get out there and get what's yours. So good business by Cincinnati. I think that if you're Miles Robinson, you're like, wait a damn minute. I thought we were getting the band back together for a secondary run at a title here, man. This is what I was promised when you put me on that jet.
Wait a damn minute. That's the official term.
He's just living out the GIF of Andre the Giant. Whoa, wait, whoa.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, good luck, Miles, but great for Brandon. And if anything, it shows that, Atlanta kind of knew what a lot of other teams didn't, right? So, we saw something in Brandon Vasquez early on. He just happened to be behind one of the best strikers in MLS history. And, you got to you got to make your move. You got to get out there and get out from under that shadow and get your own minutes. So, and that's what he was able to do. Good for him.
Bart
Good for him
says,
for working it out.
No doubt. Bart says Cade Cowell with a .3A, goals plus assists per 90 in Major League Soccer, more than 5,000 minutes, just not seeing the next step from him. Maybe Chivas can help him achieve it. Just don't think he's going to be anything other than weight room Jordan Morris.
No, I think and the thing is, like, Cade Cowell's hyper athletic.
Weight room Jordan Morris. Wow.
Cade Cowell can probably clean and jerk a small car. But yeah, I mean, it like I said, like to Bart's point, like there have been stretches where with a guy like that, and we fall into this trap, not just in soccer, we fall into this trap in every sport where like we have like a young prospect and we're really excited for them. And you fall into this trap where when they do something really well, it reaffirms everything you believe about them. Like, oh man, this is it. And when it doesn't work, you're like, they're still growing. They're still working on it. And you have to kind of figure out, I think when you have to figure out, am I waiting too long? Am I making excuses for a guy who it just hasn't clicked with? And maybe it will click with somebody else. And you see that sometimes from teams will move on from a guy and like, hey, he's talented, but it's not working here. Yeah. And we can get something for him, or we can just straight up lose him.
Yes. That. Bam, with a question to the floor. If you're looking for a new player, which tournament will you pay more attention to? A new player to be a fan of or sign? You paying more attention to AFCON or Asia Cup? The answer, Bam, is both. Because as Mataflo says, you shouldn't ignore either tournament. Both have excellent talent. And so, yeah, if you've got the ways to watch, if you know your favorite streaming service or VPN, not that we neither condone or endorse that kind of behavior, but if you can find ways to watch the tournaments because it's by the way, the Molly jersey, oh my Lord, in AFCON, look it up. The Molly jersey in AFCON is absolutely ridiculous. Still nothing out of men's national team. So Nick, as we get to the week out the door and get ready for everything else, some of your takeaways from the week in general would be what, sir?
It's silly season. So this has been, I think, a somewhat more subdued silly season than most. I mean, you're seeing some mid-level players kicked around internationally. You're seeing some names bandied about, but really, I think our usual suspects for big time transfers are sitting quiet. After the Saudi Arabia raid, it's more about, okay, is Chelsea gonna, who's Chelsea going after? Is Man United going to, do something to bolster that roster? MLS trades taking place, transfers happening outbound and inbound. Atlanta's doing great business. I think Cincinnati did great business. Can't be mad at it. Outside of that, just, sit back and before you engage that big giant red fan button, let the transfer window play out and see what's what. You have Atlanta making roster moves that allow them a lot of flexibility. Before you say, before you cast too much judgment anyway, sit tight and see how the window works. Same thing I would say for Cincinnati, because if you're a Cincinnati fan, you're probably like, oh crap, our striker's gone. Now what? So, you're stronger on the back end, but that window, there's a little more time left in that window. So sit tight, relax, be a touch patient. Might just work out in your favor.
In Brighton, by the way, has put in an initial bid for Valentin Barco. $10 million is the release clause. $10 million, 10% of the pass. If you haven't seen Valentin Barco, sign the man. If you can find a way to sign him, sign him. Jarrett, last thoughts on the week before we go.
Next week should be dumb too. You'll probably get rumors.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They'll all be dumb.
Absolutely.
Everything will be dumb.
Yes. And I'll be doing next week's show from the beach. It'll be that time of year where apparently it's going to be raining all week, and I'll be staring at the Gulf of Mexico, and it'll be raining. So Next week, everything will be from the beach, at least on my end, and we'll have stuff going on all across the board. Thanks to our guests all week long. Fantastic stuff. And it's always great to have Nick and Jarrett crash when they can, when the real world doesn't intervene and they can come on and talk about stuff. It's great to have Nico on. Great to have Laurel Failer on yesterday. On Wednesday to talk about, or yesterday was Thursday. So have her on to talk about everything in Cincinnati with Dylan and Bart and all that kind of stuff. We filibustered enough. Bart's got a new episode of Soccer for US POD. That'll be up later today. I have to go get an oil change because it's that time for the car just before you're taking a trip. So for Jarrett and for Nick, I'm just John. That's it for another show. That's it for another week, as we're getting close to starting season 8 of SDH here at the end of the month. So thanks for hanging out with us as you always do and moving the soccer conversation forward. So for Nick, for Jarrett, for everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Mucha plot to y'all. It's the end of the show. So that means I get to do this and we back at it again Monday morning.